Anyway, the contrast of the night dive was unreal. We got to Hol Chan, I think it was about 6:30. We waited for about 10 or 15 minutes for that particular dive that went wrong. And we waited. Richie gave us the safety brief. Please snap your light sticks. Please have them on your tank. Richie put them all in the tanks. You know, please stay as a group. You know, please respect everybody else's space. If you want to see something, wait till they move. You know what I mean? We can stay 40 minutes here, you know, at 30 feet. You know, we could have probably stayed longer, but it would have been pushing it. You know, we'll spend 40 minutes in the water. You'll see the difference between nighttime and the daytime, how the sun sets, you know, and the water goes from clear to black, and it happened in minutes. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. We had a full moon. The water was calm. The tide was coming in nicely. Everything was just 100% perfect. You couldn't have got it any better. As I say, the only thing that went tits up was the fucking other big lanky Dutch scuba diver, who was just greedy, pushing his way in to get seeing the eels. And yeah, he spoiled it for everybody. He got a sharp lesson on that dive, because he basically, you know, I fucking just wasn't going to take it. I did get a bit nervous when the regulator was kicked out. I wasn't expecting it, obviously, so I had a half mouthful of water and a bit of air, and lucky that, you know, on most days I would be in the water practicing my skills, and one of them was regulator recovery as well. So yeah, it was important to do that. But that night dive was a great experience. It was an experience of how things could just go wrong really quickly, especially at night time and around other divers. I counted that night 9 other boats in the water, and some of the boats were packed with 12 people. So there was a lot of people in the water. For night dives, Dave kept his divers at about 8. He didn't really go any. He could have taken more. He could have taken 12. He could have taken 20. You know, but he never pushed. He never pushed the limits of anything because of that particular reason. So yeah, that was the first experience of a night dive, and I wasn't expecting it. Anyway, we got back to the dock. Everybody was happy enough. They got some great photographs. They saw some fish. You know, somebody thought they saw the tail of a shark. Lots of stingrays. We saw slipper lobsters, or Spanish lobsters as they're called. They don't look like a normal lobster. People saw a couple of lobsters. We saw the eels. You know, we just saw parrotfish that usually come out at night time, or cocoon themselves at night time. And just, you know, we saw a couple of octopus, little tiny octopus and things like that. It was a really good dive. It was really, really nice. And as I say, the conditions were just absolutely perfect. Yeah, it was quite good, but it was quite crowded. Because there was two sides, because there was a north and a south, not everybody went to the north. Most people, half the people, would go to the south, and they would start at the south, and they would just basically swim. You know, we would swim clockwise, and that was basically the rules of Hol Chan. All the divers and dive masters went down there, knew not to swim anti-clockwise and clockwise, because you'd just be banging into each other. So it was just a known rule that everybody would just go clockwise and just take the time and you know, and just enjoy the dive. The whole thing wasn't to rush. The whole thing was to just experience a night time, you know, learn to keep your breathing, you know, nice and regular and slow, you know. And for me especially, as I was going to be working on my dive master, which meant I would be leading dives, taking dives, and be responsible the same way as Richie was for as many people as we had. So while I was with Richie or with Dave, you know, I was basically Taylor and Charlie, set out to the side, and I was the good shepherd. Basically, I would make sure that everybody, you know, that would be close enough together. If people were taking photographs, I would generally stay with the couple taking photographs, and then basically shepherd them on to catch up with the rest of the group, because photographers just are oblivious to everything, and I experienced some really fucking nasty photographers in the fucking 6 years that I ended up living and staying in Belize. Most of these guys don't give a fuck except for the money shot, and that's getting the perfect little underwater photograph. So got back anyway, unloaded the boats. We kept the divers gear with us instead of them loading it back. we made sure we hosed everything down, and we took it back and we hung it up, and it was clean for them the next day. And you know, they knew and trusted Dave, so they knew that nothing would go missing. When they came back down to the dock the next day, their scuba gear would be ready to go, and that was part of the service that we and David provided at Dive Dreams. So Richie took all the people back to their prospective hotels and brought the boat back, cleaned the boat. I went off to Dave, and Dave asked me how the dive went. I told him exactly what it did, and he just says to me, fucking, well, good skills, Cole. Fucking guy needed it, you know what I mean? And he goes, try not to go fucking banzai, you know what I mean? He says, try not to go banzai. Don't go fucking full tilt on these people, he goes, because they are paying customers. Yes, you're right, he goes, and what you did, you know, fucking, you know, taught the guy a lesson. He needed to learn and understand that. Richie basically handled it with the young Graniel guy, and the young Graniel guy basically told that knob as well also to watch himself and to not be greedy. Yeah, so that was it. Dave got my back, and he just says, "Go, no, try and, you know," he says, we're not on Northern Ireland now. We can't flip out. We can't go nuts. We can't be the way that we were over there. It is a much easier place. You are, you know, you've only been here a week. You're still finding your way, blood. So Dave was very understanding. In the early days, I took things very thick. I would hold grudges. My anger would get the better of me, and you know, coming from growing up in Northern Ireland with the Troubles and all that type of stuff, I fucking, you know, I was as thick as pig shit. I was ignorant as fuck, and my temper was like a firecracker, and I didn't forget things very, very quickly. So that guy seethed in my head for a couple of days, even though I didn't see him again, and you know, but I learned over the coming months to, you know, basically calm down a little bit, and most of the time, 90% of the time, we were never going to see the people like that again. So it wasn't really worth hanging on to things. So that was my first experience of a night dive. Dave and I went up to the Jade Garden next door, which was Sue's restaurant. They had an outside balcony, which was basically, unless it was booked by guests, Dave and I and Dave's friends would send out there, and we would eat and Dave would have a couple of drinks, and the balcony just looked over the view of the sea, which was 100 feet away, and we could hear the swaying of the coconuts trees at night time, and the wind going through the leaves, and you know, and it was amazing. The fucking mosquitoes were something else, but yeah, but it was absolutely phenomenal. It was paradise in my mind. It was paradise. And so good night had by all. Dave started nicknaming me the Oprah Gruppenführer because I wouldn't take shit from anybody, and I fucking told him straight, and that was it. You know, fucking, it was Cole's way or the fucking highway. When I started diving, I took no prisoners. I wouldn't let people stand on the coral. I wouldn't let people fucking, you know, take snap bits of coral off, or take shells, or, you know, anything like that, you know what I mean? That was destroying, as far as I was concerned, it was destroying the ecosystem. And I'd grown up with Jacques Cousteau, and I'd listened to, you know, intently everything that he'd said about the ecosystem and, you know, people destroying stuff, and I just wasn't fucking having it. Wasn't having none of it at all. If I found anybody with any types of coral that had snapped off, or fucking shells or anything, I'd go banzai. I'd flip out, and that's why Dave started calling me the Oprah Gruppenführer. He had to rein me in a few times, obviously, to tell me to wind my neck in, and you know, he had to learn to do the same when he went out there as well, so he understood. But yeah, more night dives came. They were absolutely fantastic. We went to loads of different dive sites. My skills improved in scuba diving rapidly. I think in the space of, you know, the 4 or 5 months, I had, you know, well over 250 dives, and started logging everything and keeping a little journal of what I saw, and you know, all that type of stuff. And then I got onto my dive master course, which was really intense, and with the help of Dave and also Richie, flew through that. Got my exams, flew through it, and my certificates, dive certificates from PADI started rolling in, and my life was just beginning to kick into second gear and really take off.